What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. Now, obviously, over the weekend, the band Rex Viper played at the Too Many Games convention in Pittsburgh. Well, that video hasn't surfaced yet. I'm checking YouTube every day. I'm not even seeing clips from Rex Viper's performance. And I really wanted that to be my video that I released today, but instead, I got something to hold us over until that video does ever surface. Hopefully it will. A lot of people have asked me to do this type of video that you're about to see. I'm interviewing a friend and former bandmate of a band called the Almas, and the reason why I wanted to talk to him so much specifically was because his band that he was in at the time, for being a much smaller band, they toured all the time. And I just don't know any band on their level that can afford to tour that much, that enjoys touring that much. So I really wanted to pick his brain. So we ended up talking about music in general, touring, just being in a band, the highs, the lows, and then just various other things I think you'll find entertaining. This took me a long time to edit, so I hope you watch it and enjoy it. And it's pretty long, so you can pretty much just listen to it like a podcast. So here we go. What's up, everybody? Welcome to my channel, Dancing with Ghosts. Now, this is different than obviously what I normally do, but you guys are always commenting in the comment section of my videos, wanting me to talk more about my experience as a musician and music in general. And it's always felt weird just kind of doing it by myself. I don't know why. It's weird because being in a band is such a collaborative experience that to just talk about solo just seems like not the full picture, I guess. So I have a guest on today. I don't normally have guests on my show like ever, but I don't know. I just figured it'd be a good idea. This fellow we met while his former band, the Almas, were touring. They toured everywhere all the time. We'll get more into that. But his name's Chris, by the way. Chris, and I don't even know how to pronounce your last name. Arndt?
Yep, that's it.
Wow. What's the origin behind that? Is that some Norwegian?
Incredibly German.
Oh, yeah, I should have known that. Yeah, I speak a good bit of German, and people may or may not know that who watch this channel. I did a whole ass food review of German snacks, and I did the whole thing in German, so. Ich habe immer deutsche Kultur interessanter gefunden. Ja, wirklich, immer. Ich liebe alles Deutsche. But yeah, anyway, was it that in Gainesville at that swamp, I forget the name of it, Swamp Collective or whatever?
Actually, we met at Jackrabbits in Jacksonville the first time.
All right, yeah, I remember that show.
Right around the time.
I think that was on a Sunday, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. It was like right before the pandemic started.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, so that I met Chris, and he was in this touring band, heavily touring band, and they were just like road dogging it. And my band, Dancing with Ghosts, which I mention on this channel often, but I don't ever really like lean into that much because I know you guys are mainly here to check out my other content, but I do know that there's some people who do like my music, so this is going to be a very my music in general heavy episode, whatever. It's probably going to be the length of a podcast by the time we're done with it, so just treat it like a podcast, I guess. But so yeah, so give me some background into like your musical life journey or whatever.
So a lot of the background was focused in the rock / hard rock. Of course, everybody starts off their musical career in a punk rock band, like they're trying to do like a Descendants or Rancid or stuff like that. So that's basically where it started. Actually early high school, and still trying to do stuff to this day. So
you just did the typical thing of like start a band in middle school, high school, do your best rip off of whatever your favorite band is at the time, like
pretty much.
And you just kind of keep cycling through bands. A band will start, there'll be some drama, someone quits. And my experience has always been like, I joined a band. I've never Dancing with Ghosts is the first band I've ever started. First of all, every other experience was me joining a band, and we would get to a certain like degree of sounding good and have a few shows under our belt, and then the singer quits. But anyway, yeah, so people would always quit, and then in my experience, the band would just kind of dissolve after that. Like people just kind of like lost their lust for life, and then they would just start a new thing.
So either that or just getting people in the door to begin with is difficult too.
That is very true, especially to get a singer that you like, and a drummer that you like, because guitar players and bass players are kind of dime a dozen to a certain degree, especially bass players.
Sick. Yeah, you were one too, so.
I started out but see, the difference is I wasn't just like, oh well, he can't quite play guitar, so just hold down the root notes. I was like Geddy Lee and Les Claypool were like my gods. So like when I was playing bass, like I was doing all that crazy. If it wasn't the popping and slapping shit, it was the but the YYZ shit that Geddy Lee did, so like that was the kind of bass playing that I did. So like I treated it like the instrument that it should be treated as. Not to say that there's anything wrong with just holding down root notes. A lot of times that's what a song calls for. And I know this is kind of some inside baseball terminology for the average listener out there, but bear with us, I guess. And I'm not going to explain every single term I use, like what a root note is or whatever. It's probably self-explanatory to most people, but there are
anything, Google.
Yeah, Google. But yeah, no. So like I'm 34 now. And I think at around age 25 or 26 is when I started Dancing with Ghosts, and it's like most infantile form, like where it was just me writing the songs on my computer and then throwing some guitar over it or whatever. And that's been the most steady project that I've been a part of because it's my thing at the end of the day, even though Stephanie and the rest of the band members, Stephanie in particular, she's been with me since 2017. She is a huge like part of the band and like a huge like contributor and all that. At the end of the day, like this band can't be taken away from me. That's what I love about it, because I created it. But for you, when did like the Almas was like the last band you did, right?
Right. Yeah, that was I joined in like 2017, something like that, and then we started touring in 2018.
So you joined the Almas. So like you live in the same state or city as them, or state or whatever, or
all in the same state. It's like 15-20 minutes of each other. So
okay.
Yeah, so stupid close. I don't know, you gotta be able to get together, you can jam out, and I mean stuff like this works, but it's not the same.
I don't understand. There's some bands out there that I know of who they have a drummer, for instance, but he lives in another state. And they'll go and they've been on tours, and I'm like, how do you guys practice? Like,
yeah.
What do you fly them in? And, like that's crazy.
Like, yeah, the band we played with in Gainesville, A Light Divided. Yeah. They weren't living in the same state for a while either. Like I know, Jace lived in North Carolina, and a couple of them lived in like Florida. One of them lived in Tennessee.
Yeah, A Light Divided, man, they put on a hell of a live show. Like that yeah. So you were still in the band for that show then too. Man, like I don't know what day that show was on, but there was no people at that show.
And it of course it's Florida, so it's hot and humid as shit in the summer.
Yeah.
So
you joined the Almas in 2017, and what was it about that band that drew you in, or was it just a gig that you wanted to be part of?
It was I was in bands with Frank, the lead guitarist and kind of the main guy.
Yeah.
For years beforehand. And we gelled before, and I liked the direction the band was going, and I knew I've always wanted to tour. So I was like, well, And actually, I was the one who booked the first tour that we did.
Oh, wow.
Because I saw the band was making money merch. I was like, oh, okay, well, we'll give it a shot and we'll see what happens. And the first, I guess I screwed up my booking. Somehow I ended up, so our first show was in Illinois, and then we had to haul it all the way down to St. Augustine.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
St. Augustine, that's like an hour drive for me. And I live in, like close. Well, I live in Florida, and like that's a drive for me. And I live in the same state. Holy shit, dude.
Yeah, that was like a, 18-hour drive? Something like that.
If I was your bandmates, I'd be like, you fucking dumbass. Like,
it gets better too. That show was on Super Bowl Sunday.
oh,
And
nice.
so nobody was at that show.
Nobody was there.
Aside from the band that we were playing with.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. So, yeah, like, what would you classify the sound of the Almas like? I mean, I would say just like modern rock, just rock.
Yeah.
And I hate this term. I hate to use this term, but like female fronted, like modern rock. I hate the term female fronted, but
That's as close to accurate. Yeah, it's very accurate, I'd say. They always, when I was in the band, they described it as a hard rock version of Fleetwood Mac, just dirtier. With like the moans and all the sex stuff.
But Fleetwood Mac, they had like 3 singers in that band, including Christine McVie and Lindsey Buckingham. There we go. So Lindsey Buckingham did a lot of like co-vocals, and so did Christine McVie, and their 80s stuff. Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies. That's a great song. Tusk, Hypnotize or Mesmerize, or whatever the song's called. They never play those songs on the radio, and those are the Fleetwood Mac songs I really like. Of course, they don't play those. Yeah. If I never heard Dreams ever again, I would be perfectly okay with that. That song is so overplayed and oversung at my karaoke gigs. Like all the wispy hippie girls all do Dreams by that. Fleetwood Mac is like, or Stevie Nicks is like their god for their latent hippie coming outs or whatever. I don't even know what I'm saying right now. Anyway, so yeah, we played with you guys a couple times, and I guess I'll just get to my burning question regarding the Almas. I don't know of any other band, professional or like local or anywhere in between, because I wouldn't, obviously you guys aren't a local band, or weren't when you were in there, because I mean, like touring all the time and all that. I don't know any band that's toured as much as y'all's band has. Why the fuck did you guys tour so much?
It was fun. And we just wanted to get our footprint in as many states as we could, as often as we could. Just try to make new fans, I don't know. And again, we just enjoy doing it. Like, I mean, obviously gas prices, maintenance on the van, that all sucks. But at the end of the day, I'd rather do that than working a standard job.
But like, touring is expensive.
It is.
And you guys tour all the time. Sorry if I keep slipping in and out of like present day as though you're still in the band, and past tense. It's a little brain slip on my end. But they tour so much, and did when you were in the band too. Like, how do you afford to keep touring if you're never working? Because I know that, like, I don't, from the shows that I played with you guys, y'all had no draw. Like, right. the Jackrabbit show, like we had all the draw for that show because it was our hometown, so that makes sense. The Gainesville show, no band had a draw. Even Light Divided didn't have a draw. Like, right. There was no draw. So like, I don't know if Florida is just like a crap hole for y'all's band specifically, but if your other dates were anything like that, I can't imagine you guys making any money to even like facilitate touring unless you sold a shit ton of merch.
Well, there are definitely days where, I mean, and this, there are definitely days where like that, where the merch gate, where where the attendance sucks. But I mean, the next one will have like, I mean, the place won't be packed out, but it'll be booming, and people will be buying like all the custom merch, like the wristbands or whatever, like the custom made guitar string bracelets that we had. It really sold well. Um, and we would do well from that, and also like for Frank and I, we had jobs that would let us go on tour, then we were able to come back. We were very fortunate in that regard.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, I'm a karaoke DJ. I technically, me and Ari, our lead singer, are both. We could technically get someone to cover our gigs for like a couple weeks, but the problem with being a DJ is that at any point, the person who's covering your gig, the management could decide, oh, we actually like that person better, and then they end up with your gig, and then you just come back. And that actually happened to our drummer. Our drummer played in this band called Fit for Rivals, who were a bigger touring band. They were actually on a tour package with Adelita's Way, Framing Hanley, and Flyleaf.
Oh, no
So
shit.
so it was a legit, big tour, and he was on the road for like 2 months. And when he came back, because he was also a karaoke DJ, all his gigs were gone. Like, so like no work essentially. So that's kind of a fear for us. But yeah, I was always wondered with your former band, like I'm like, did they have like a rich uncle or something? That because I still it's because like I know like with the gas and like would you guys like just sleep in the van, or is it hotels every night, or?
We always we slept in the van. There for a while it was the benches, but then at the end of my time with them, Frank built bunks. It basically turned into a mini RV.
Oh wow, okay.
Not comfortable by any regards, especially if you're on the top bunk. But hey, you didn't have to spend $100 at a hotel, even a cheap one.
So that's a huge money saver right there, is not having to pay for lodging.
Right.
So like when you would sleep at night, like say you're in like a hot city or state, would you just like leave the car running the whole night with the AC?
So at the very end, we had like little fans that we had up top, and then we had a generator attached to our van, so we were able to just run an AC unit
Oh,
at
okay.
night. So just fill it up with a gallon of gas, and then you're good for most of the night, at least like 4 or 5 hours, something like that.
Oh
And
wow.
really, you're not sleeping that long anyway. You gotta drive 6 hours to go to your next show, or however long it is.
I would like to go on a tour, but like it sounds like you guys truly just like enjoyed it.
Right, right.
So it was like easier to look forward to like a 4 week tour or something like that, because it was like, what was it, like an adventure to you guys, or?
Pretty much, it's just cool being in like the different states. Like being in Wisconsin in the wintertime sucks. So it's like, okay, well, we're gonna go down to Florida or wherever, and
Yeah,
we're gonna go record, then go on tour,
right.
which
Yeah,
was like,
that makes sense to escape the shitty winters of the Midwest. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I just see touring as like, yeah, and going to the different states would really be a lot of fun, and that's something I wish we could have done more of. But I'm not gonna lie, man. I hate being in a vehicle for more than like 3 or 4 hours. Like
yeah.
it really my back starts getting all fucked up, and my ass starts getting all fucked up, and I just get tired of sitting, and then just the constant driving, and it's like that's like your everyday way of life when you're.
I was just gonna say, ideally, unless you're going out west, usually your longest drives are usually like 3 to 4 hours.
Oh,
Ideally, is what we learned. Of course, again, unless you're going out west where the states are just gigantic,
far
and
apart, spread far apart. Yeah.
exactly, it takes God, because yeah, going out west sucks. And it's a money pit for sure. But out east is easy in comparison, because
Yeah,
obviously,
we've routed like we had a tour planned. We spent the later parts of 2019 up until the January of 2020 booking like this 8-day tour throughout the North and Midwest. Some lady wanted me to do her wedding, and she wanted the band to perform at the wedding, and she was going to pay me like a nice chunk of change to do so. And that's kind of what we built the whole tour around, because it's like, well, obviously, when she first sent me the message, I'm like, obviously I can't do that, because we were going to be in like St. Paul, Minnesota or something like that. That's where she was at. And then the idea came to me. It was like, well, wait a minute. What if Steph came with me and we made a whole tour out of it, and the money I got paid from the wedding, like, so the money that we made from the tour, this is me acting like nothing bad happened in the edit, and this is just seamlessly all came together, as if my Wi-Fi didn't just completely shut down and it ruined everything right in the middle of me talking about planning the tour. So anyway, the money that we made from doing that wedding was going to pay for the entire tour. We had dates set up through like Chicago for one of them, like Des Moines on the way back. We were going through like Knoxville, I think. We were all over the place. We had some good dates. Indianapolis. So, and we booked it all ourselves, and you know, I'm sure you know how much of a pain in the ass that is.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
And
Venues don't get back to you.
yeah, you know, the venues, they have a phone number that's garbage that they never pick up. They, you know, some of them want you to message them on Facebook. Some of them want you to message them somewhere else. Some want you to email them. Some want you to call them, but they never answer the phone and they return your call. And I get it. You know, it's a hard sell getting an unknown band with like no cachet of any kind. It's hard to put them up in your venue, knowing that as a, you know, venue owner or promoter or whoever, knowing that you're probably not going to make any money on that show. So I get why they're so iffy on unknown entities, you know, especially ones that have never played at that specific venue before. But we managed to do it, and we had the date set, and then in March of 2020, everything just went to shit.
Yeah.
And it was just so ironic, because like a lot of things like that, well, not a lot, I don't want to be too like pessimistic about it. There have been things in our career as a band that feel like, of course this would happen to us, because at the time we were already hobbled by the fact that we were just two people running backing tracks. So like I was on guitar, Steph was doing keys at the time and singing, and we were both doing like taking turns singing certain bits, and we were already like not really super seen as like a legit band, because in a lot of those circles it gets very gatekeepy with the whole, oh, they don't have a drummer, like, you know, oh, they're not like a real band or whatever. So we were kind of dealing with that too. Yeah, after the pandemic, we wrote a lot of music during the pandemic. Like half of it is still not released, half of it's still in just demo mode. But the other half we put out in rapid succession from 2020 to 2022. We put out like probably 6 or 7 or 8 songs, like new songs, because we had just wrote so much material during the pandemic. And then when shows started picking back up in like 2021, it was like just full stop, like playing shows all over the place in Jacksonville and the surrounding cities and all that. And kind of ever since then, it's just been one thing after another with, you know, getting good show offers too, like opening for like bigger bands and getting their crowds to like us and all that. And we just haven't had a chance to just sit down and breathe long enough to like plan another tour. And then I see like your former band just constantly, like there'll be some big tour that they book, and then they'll be off for like a week or two, and then, hey guys, we're excited to announce the hot summer tour rock and roll 2023, with the blah blah blah. And it's just like, how do you find time to do that?
Yeah, a lot of your time is just spent prepping. I mean, obviously you do a little songwriting here and there. You do what you can, and obviously if you have people helping you book tours, then that helps a lot.
Yeah,
a great deal.
So was there like a delegator? Like, so was someone delegated in the band to book, or was everyone kind of like, did everyone like know the deal and they were all pitching in?
So for when we first started, it was mostly just Crystal and I that were booking the tours. We basically, which by the way, a great way to actually find venues to email. If you do the premium service for a site called Indie on the Move,
we've done it.
You've done it.
That's how we found the venues we found, was through Indie on the Run.
Did you do the premium service? Do you know, or?
Yeah. That's okay. Where they give you the venue, like their all the information on the venue, the best way to contact them and all that.
Yeah. You do that. That's a great way to. Obviously, they'll tell you if they have a PA or whatnot. All the details you might need.
Yeah, that's how we did the tour that we were gonna do, was through Indie on the Go. Sometimes I wonder like how up to date their information is though, because like. There have been times where it was just completely out of date info, and it's like, if I'm paying money to use this service, you could at least have your people keep this stuff updated.
Right.
But it was still helpful though. Yeah, see, that was the thing. Like, so when we were booking our tour, I had Steph pick like 3 or 4 cities. I took like 3 or 4 cities, and then we just worked on those cities. And that's how we did it. But if there were like 2 more of us doing the same thing, now I'm only having to worry about, I only got to book shows for 2 cities. That would be easy.
Yeah, exactly.
And now all of a sudden it's not this huge, overwhelming burden because you have other people pulling their weight. But I don't know. With our band, it's kind of like it's never really been like an equal like democracy in the sense of like, everyone gets a say in the songwriting. Everyone gets a say in like the album art. Everyone gets a say in any of the creative aspects. It's kind of like I'm at the top of the pyramid, and then like Steph, I like to consider her like the vice president, if you will. And then underneath that, it's kind of like not hired guns. Like they are in the band, but like I'm not really interested in like collaborating in that way with like the whole band, because I've been writing songs, like whole songs where I'm coming up with bass parts, guitar parts, drum parts, all that for like decades now. I've been doing it for like a really long time. I know how to construct a song better than anyone that I'm going to work with. Now, if they have a riff or something that they come up with, maybe, but like, I don't know. Most of the bands,
for the most part.
Yeah. So, and I feel like most successful bands work best that way. Kind of when there's like the captain, and then then like
the
people. Yeah. I hate putting it like that, but like some people are just fine in that position though. Some people only want to be, the bass player who just kind of follows along, and they can tell people they're in the band, but they don't really have much, sway one way or the other. How is y'all's band like in that dynamic?
For the most part, we like to. Okay, so Frank did most of the writing, and then it's a lot of the same with you guys. Like, I'll come up with like here's a funky groove you could do, kind of throw a cool spin on it, like, oh, okay, write a riff around that. Like, it would inspire, but it wouldn't actually be like the main focus.
I find that like typically the lead guitar player is also kind of the songwriter of like the instrumental portions of the song.
Right, exactly.
because it's hard to write a song around a bass thing. I mean, you can, but it doesn't feel as fleshed out as picking up, like, say, an acoustic guitar and strumming chords. It sounds like a fuller, like, song instead of just do 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 do. You know, you can certainly do that, but
it's harder to work around.
Yeah. And then, like, you know, I've been programming drums for so long that, like, and I played drums. I never played drums in a band. Well, that's a lie. I did play drums in one band. It was like an old school hardcore band. So all the beats were just tap 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 like the whole time, and it sucked because, like, that was not the music I was into on drums. Like, I was more like, I don't know. I liked more like Smashing Pumpkins alternative rock, kind of like more slower tempo, heavy, you know, not this frenetic craziness, man. Like those drummers, like, they get all the respect in the world from me. Even though I don't like that genre of music, those drummers, like, they have to be so in shape to play that way and play on time. It's insane.
Yeah, 100%. I was just gonna say that the whole alt scene is definitely like my wheelhouse. That's my favorite.
Yeah.
So I totally respect the Smashing Pumpkins, Chili Peppers, all that.
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. That's the kind of music I wanted to write, but then I realized that, like, as the times they do keep a changing, I find that the music that I love is becoming, like, less and less kind of like marketable.
Right.
So I'm not going to say it's less popular, because I don't believe that. I think even the kids coming up, like Gen Z and all that, I think a lot of them like that 90s stuff as well, but it's not marketed in the way that this new stuff that you hear on the radio is. It's not marketed in the way, to the degree of, like, say, like hip hop or like whatever The Weeknd puts out, or whatever, you know, whoever the biggest artist is right now. Like,
I have no idea.
The genres that are being kind of, like, fed to people through terrestrial pop radio, that's what the marketing people think people want to hear, and rock just has lost its seat at the table so long ago to be on any of those platforms. And so I guess my next thing is, like, so I'm looking at touring as, like, this necessary evil that I'll still have moments of enjoyment, but it's kind of like if I could not have to do this and sleep in a van, that would be great. But obviously you guys look at it as, like, we're gonna go on tour, which it still kind of blows my mind. Because I think both me and Steph look at it like, yeah, it would be pretty cool, but it's going to kind of suck. And we're just kind of like, we have trepidation about it.
Right.
My thing is like, the goal of everything we do as, you know, musicians and being in a band and all, is, like, we want to get our music out to people. Like, that's, like, the number one goal.
Right.
So my thing is, like, if we focus on putting out, like, music videos, internet content, just kind of going the internet route, you know, like all the resources and just money and everything that is saved by still kind of getting yourself out there without actually getting out there. Now, I realize that touring is still important. I totally agree, because there have been people that have seen us at venues that would have never found us online. But I just feel like the way that Almas do it is almost like you're like
obsolete.
Not obsolete. It's like you're not utilizing your resources in the wisest manner.
Right.
You have and one of your resources is your age, your time. You know, you're spending years on the road, but, like, you know, are you really throwing the numbers up on the board in terms of, like, you know, are you getting any kind of a financial return on that? Are you noticing your plays and your audience growing? Because I feel like analytically, I think me and the Almas are about the same as far as our social media followers. I think they've just recently kind of blown up a little bit on the Spotify monthly listens, but for a while there, we had more than they did, and they were on the road all the time.
Right.
And it's like, I just don't understand like the thought process of that, you know, of just I get it like every now and then, but like at first y'all did it yourself, but then you went to what, Blind Anxiety, right?
Right. Yeah. They booked the tours for
Yeah.
us.
So then they start doing all the heavy lifting.
Right. Right.
Which, I mean, that must have been nice.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. But then again, like you said, everyone kind of has their job, but then that was kind of my job that I actually really enjoy booking. So that was kind of taken away from me.
Yeah. Well, you should join our band then, because I hate booking.
Oh.
You can be the resident booker. That's your job.
Hell yeah.
You can be on stage with a laptop while we're playing, and I'll just like point to him and be like, he is booking shows for us right now as we're playing. So everyone give him a round of applause. And that's like, we can put a mic up to your laptop and everything so that we can hear you type, you know. that can be your instrument. That can be your position in the band.
Well, that could be yeah, instead of having the. Oh no, go on.
I mean, essentially, the spiky-headed guy from Slipknot, and I mean, I think that's what he did. No one knows what the fuck he did. Craig Jones, who recently left the band. You know what's funny about Slipknot is like, if you were to tell anyone like, oh man, this one band, they've lost 4 band members, you would think to yourself, well, shit, there's only like one guy left or nobody left, right? Oh no, they still got 5 people in the band. It's like, what? There's still a full ass band then. What's the problem? Oh yeah, the guy who shined the shoes on stage, he's gone. Oh no, not that guy. He made the band. That was the band, the shoe shine guy. Damn it.
How else do you think Corey Taylor sounds so good? I mean,
right. If he has scuffed up Converses, that just won't do. He needs a shiny pair of loafers. But
fuck yeah.
I don't know. The Almas just confuse me. And they're all right, I love every single person in that band. Let me just start off by that. And the only reason I'm even talking about them is because you used to be in that band.
Right.
I love Frank. Love Crystal. There you go. And then, oh man, the other guy, his name escapes me. The drummer.
Andrew.
Yes, him. And was there another guy?
Yeah, his name is also Josh.
Oh, okay. They're all super nice, great people. But I just question some of their decisions because I've never seen any other band do what they do. Like as far as the massive amount of touring and is it paying off? And they've been doing it for so long. And like, I mean, I think you guys are all generally like probably a little bit younger than me. Like, right. Are y'all like still in your 20s or 30s or what?
Well, Frank is 32. I'm 30. Crystal is 25, I think, something like that.
Okay. As long as you have the young, attractive singer, that's really the only thing that matters. Everyone else can kind of be old.
Pretty much, yeah. The rest of the band doesn't even matter at that point, quote unquote.
Yeah, well, that's kind of how our band is. But like, I've tried to insert myself in there to the point to where like, this is also my band too. Like, I don't want it to become like the Stephanie show, and she doesn't either. Like, she doesn't want that either. As I continue to slouch in my chair, I'm like pulling the screen down to compensate for me, like slowly like shrinking out of the frame. Okay, so go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think the ideal thing is kind of a hybrid between what you guys are doing and what they're doing. I mean, I absolutely love what you guys do with like your YouTube channel. Even if it's not solely just music, if it's kind of going off on whatever, I love that. Like,
Thank you.
think, yeah, of course. I think that is going to build interest. So when you do go on tour, people are going to be like, oh, okay, well, shit, that song, The Audacity, that song was the shit. I gotta see that live.
Yeah, well, that was what the hope is for us, because we don't we kind of can't tour. We'll never really be able to tour the way the Almas tour, or any band that tours on that scale. Like, how many tours, like, would you say that your former band went on when you were in the band? Like, how many tours do you think you went on total
Probably like 7 or 8
through
through like 4 years.
4 years? Yeah, see, that's pretty. So that means some years you're doing like two. And how long were these tours? Like,
The longest one we went on was about 2 months.
holy shit.
So,
I would be so homesick by then.
yeah.
Yeah, so like that, just like we I don't think we wouldn't be able to tour on that frequency. Somebody told me about your former band. Someone told me, and I don't remember who it was, but they said something and you can probably like clear this up definitively. They said something along the lines of like blind anxiety, like they're obligated to tour, like through blind, like basically blind anxiety is like, hey, like we need you to tour, to go on this tour.
Um, it, I mean, there's definitely like it's kind of like a first come first serve. Like, I have this tour opportunity available. Who wants it, or kind of something like that. Or I mean, there's a lot with that I don't love, but I guess I wouldn't say you feel obligated per se. Maybe if you want to 100% always stay on the roster.
So if you're a band under them and maybe they see that like you're not taking the tours that they're offering, do you kind of get pushed down or something to the bottom?
I see. Well, we never had that problem because we were always just on tour. So I can't really speak as far as that goes. But
But they
I
never,
mean,
but they never at any point were like, you have to take this tour package or you have to go on this tour or else we're gonna drop you.
right,
So that didn't
right.
happen.
Well, there were bands that got dropped, but I don't know exactly why that may have been. There's a line of bullshit everywhere, all throughout the
Yeah.
business. I
hmm
mean, you know that.
Well, I think we've hit them up before because we were looking for a booking agent there for a while, and I don't think they ever got back with us. I don't know. I don't know what the qualifications are to be with them or whatever. I think the biggest thing with us is the fact that we haven't previously done a big tour like
Right.
independently.
Right.
That's a big turnoff to a lot of people in the industry, whether it be indie labels or booking agents. If they see that you haven't already done that, then I think that kind of like sours them a little bit.
Right.
But
Well,
it's like if you could just give me a chance to explain, I can tell you why we've been a band for this long and haven't had a chance to tour yet. I can tell you that. I mean,
life.
well, I mean, if you go through our YouTube page, for instance, and you go on the Dancing with Ghosts tab and you scroll through, you will see like all this content that has been generated. Music videos, we've got like 7 of them, or 8 or 9. Little short films, little comedy bits, little these, little that. So it's like that's that's kind of what our focus is as being creative and being artists. And I don't think that makes us any less viable of a band as this road dog band that tours all the time but doesn't really ever put out much music.
Right.
I think that like it's stupid to put, and I mean I get that they don't want to invest putting you on a tour and you've never been on tour and then you start freaking out and you're too hungover to play and you want to go home, and so there's this whole fuck up for them, and I get that aspect of it, but
I think another part of it is if for whatever reason that person can't get the show or has a hard time filling a date, they know that if the band has experience with booking a tour, that they can maybe fill the gaps.
yeah,
Obviously, it's not the band's. I mean, if they're hired, this is not their responsibility per se. But I mean, every little bit helps, and
yeah.
so it can make other shows happen. But that's the only other thing.
And we have experience doing that. I mean, we could do it right now if we needed to. We could start playing a tour right now, but we just got this new song that is almost finished, and we got to go on the whole circuit to promote that. We want to make a music video for it. So we've got a lot of stuff to, I mean, the last song we put out was Audacity, and that was almost a year ago.
It's hard to believe it's been a year already. Okay.
Yeah, so it's like we've just been and it's not that we've been inactive. There's just been so much, like, off the top of my head, I can't think of exactly. I mean, it's just one thing after another has happened in the last year, to where it's been, and on top of that, we're going to an actual studio now instead of me producing all of our songs,
right.
Because we just, I don't know. That was always like a looming insecurity in the back of my head, was like, you know, do my songs sound good enough? Because I recorded it all in my home studio. I'm like, do my songs match up to a song on a rock song on the radio? You know, does it sound as good? Is it industry standard enough? And I was always paranoid about that. So, and on top of that, I kind of hate, like, from start to finish, I kind of hate the process of, like, being the engineer, the mixer, the producer. Like, I like some aspects of it, but it's mainly like the end where you have to start doing the mixing, and you have to, I don't know, the mixing, and then, like, I would do a mix on a song, and then me and Steph would have what we call the car test, when we burn it, or we render it as like an MP3 or a WAV file, and we take it in the car and listen to it in the car. Because, like, in my opinion, if it sounds great in your car, then it'll probably sound good anywhere.
Right.
And so we would do these car tests, and then something would be wrong, so we have to go back in. I'd make a tweak, re-render it, go back into a car. Let's do it. Oh shit, that still doesn't sound. So it was this whole thing that was this huge pain in the ass. And then at the end of the day, I still don't know, like, is this like something that a Spotify playlist will accept, or are they going to listen to it and be like, oh yeah, this isn't high quality enough? So after all that, we're just like, fuck it. Let's just go to an actual studio and pay $100 an hour, because we're really smart like that. Going from free to $100 an hour, but it's worth it for me, because all I do is show up and track my parts and do my vocals, and the producer or the engineer does the rest. It's
right. Yeah. I'm an amateur when it comes to the whole production side of it, but I know from, like, programming drums and doing all that shit, it sucks. It's a lot. Like, the writing part is the fun part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But
the funnest part to me is when I have, like, a guitar idea, or I get, like, a synth idea, and I record it into my audio workstation or whatever. I use Fruity Loops, FL Studio as they call it now. Back when I pirated it off LimeWire 20 years ago, it was called Fruity Loops. I love having just that naked guitar riff and knowing I can do anything with it. I can put any beat under it. I can lay synth over it. I could go anywhere. I could go anywhere with the riff. What gets annoying is when I build, like, say, a verse or an opening, and now I have the bass part in there, I have the drum part, and it's like, okay, where does it go next?
Yeah.
And am I going to make the right move? Am I going to make the best next part? Am I going to write the best chorus for this that I possibly can? Or could I have written a best, stronger chorus? You know, could I have come up with a stronger melody? That's always, like, that's when it starts getting, like, this mental, like, head games you start getting into with yourself.
Because in our opinions, like, it could sound great to somebody else, but to us, it's never good enough.
Right. Yeah, that's very true. And that's kind of another thing I avoid when I go to, like, an actual engineer, because the guy that we're working with currently, like, I think he shares the same, like, sensibilities as us.
Now I am talking about my former drummer.
When I make demos, I just kind of go all out, and then, like, I start writing the guitar part, and I start writing the bass part, and I start writing the drum part, and then before I know it, the demo's done, because I did it all on my computer. It's not like the old days where, like, him and I have been in so many bands together. It wasn't like the old days where him and I would just, like, be in his sweaty back room and we would just jam out until we figured it out.
Right.
And that's what he wanted to do. And I'm like, that's not what kind of band this is, man. Like, I know we've done bands like that where we like jam out and in the same room together and create stuff like that. But like, I just honestly, I think that's a super inefficient way of writing songs, because like you waste a lot of time to come up with like one cool little bit, you know?
Right.
When
I mean,
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, if you want to throw your own flair on it, be like, hey, maybe, this kind of fill, or, obviously like some input like that might be kind of cool, but for the most part, if it's focused, it's more.
I'll give you a perfect example. On the new song that we're coming out with, it's called 7 Years of Broken Mirrors. It has this chorus to it. And when I was showing him the riffs and we got to the chorus, he wanted to do like this double time thing on the chorus. But the song was like, the verses were in double time. So it was like he wanted to do that, something like that in the chorus, or something busy. And for me, all I heard was kick, snare, like halftime, like crash, crashing on the, 1 and the 3 or whatever. And making it more driving.
Right.
Because the guitar riff is kind of this like wall of sound, and the drums need to be like more simplistic in that part, because it really lets the guitar and all the instrumentation breathe and ring through.
Right. It's not all squished together.
It would be so busy if he just didn't see it that way. But it's my band, though. Like, I started it. I put the blood, sweat, and tears into making it what it is. So why do you get the final say as to what the beat should be when it's my band and I wrote this song, and you can't even write a song? You don't have the ability to. It's at this point, it's like you just don't have any say. You haven't earned the right to have say in this. And he didn't see it that way. I told him, I was like, look, for the live version, you can spice up and kind of put your own flair on it, as long as you don't change the groove. Right. You can do different fills. You don't have to play it exactly how I wrote it. But as far as the studio version goes, like, yeah, I pretty much want it how I did it on the demo when I programmed the drums or whatever. And so he didn't like that and all that. So hopefully the new guy is cool with, just kind of following my lead on that. Or maybe he has a good instinct on writing drum parts, and he can. I don't know. That remains to be seen.
At the end of the day, it's what's best for the song.
Yeah, exactly. And
ego's put aside.
That's a good point, and that's another reason why I feel best when I'm in charge of writing the song, because I have no ego on any one instrument.
Right. He's
a drummer, so he's gonna want to do all the drum fills. And goddamn flying ants! I thought I got him out of my house. I guess not. That's the one instrument he plays in the band, so he's gonna be like all being busy with shit and getting extra with the fills. I'm not. I mean, I am a drummer, but like I have no ego on any of the instruments that I'm playing. So I'm gonna write the most appropriate bass part, the most appropriate guitar part, and I'll feel good in knowing that I wrote the whole song. I don't have to be like, oh man, I'm just a guitar player, I need to have a guitar solo in this song. It's like, no, I'm okay with laying back and not playing guitar in certain parts and all that. And when you have someone who's kind of handling all the instruments, you can make those wise choices. Right. Because you don't have an ego about any one thing, except maybe the song itself. But
right.
Yeah, that's the problem with being in bands where it's like completely equal, man. Everyone writes their own parts, because then it just, unless you guys are all in the same wavelength and are very mature and understand that, hey, I shouldn't overplay here, I should just sit back and let this other thing, unless you're in a band like that, which I mean rarely are ever people. It's just best when one person kind of with like the best songwriting skills handles that.
Right.
So I want to get to my next, I guess, big question for you is eventually you quit the Almas.
Yes.
And what year was that? Was that like last year?
Yeah, that was actually almost a year ago. That was in like August 15th or something like that. So yeah, last summer.
Sorry, flying ant. Yeah, so you had made a public Facebook post about it, saying something about you need to go back home and work on your mental health.
Right, right.
So did you want to talk about that at all?
Yeah. It's just like you said, being on the road so much, and it takes a toll. I mean, obviously you do what you love, and I am biting at the bit to play shows again. Like I'm currently I'm I don't know how you want to say it. I guess a hired gun or a freelance as it is, and I have a tour coming up next month. But I needed that amount of time to basically just to get kind of my head on straight and just kind of hit the refresh button, figure out, is this what I want to do? And of course, if you don't see eye to eye with the people that you're living with on the road for 2 months at a time, it can be just hell in a handbasket.
I can imagine. Even from the few days that that I have been on the road, and it sounds so pathetic compared to like what you guys have done, but yeah, I mean, you just your mental health in general, for me especially, because like I was drinking, you know what I mean? Like, so I was like hungover, and mentally, man, when you're like hungover, it's not only does your body feel bad, but mentally you just are like depressed, and you're far away from home, and you're just, you know, playing shows. You load in is at 5, but you don't go on till 10, so you have like this awkward like 4.5 hours to kill.
Yeah.
15 or 20 minutes of that is eating, and then the rest is just kind of, you know, floating around, not knowing what to really do. And then you play, and, you know, you do the whole thing the next day, and being hungover during that is just like kind of like hell on earth to a certain degree, because you're just like suffering. And yeah, I can imagine.
You got to find a point to shower too. That's always fun.
Yeah, that's y'all's a thing that y'all would have to deal with. And then sleeping in a van after playing a show, well, obviously you don't have access to a shower. So like, was there ever a time, and I'm sure there was, where like you were all sweaty and you just had to go to sleep in like your well, not you, maybe you just got down to your boxers or something, but like you weren't able to shower?
Yeah, most times it was like that.
That
and then but then the next day we would go to Planet Fitness and we would all just shower there. And especially on off days, we would get like a workout in, just to kind of stay limber when you're, you know, when you're driving for so long.
Yeah,
you want to be
sure.
in. Oh, that's one awesome thing you can about tour. You can Planet Fitness is like what, $15 a month, something like that, for the black membership.
Having to take a shit at a gas station is something that doesn't appeal to me. I can't lie.
Well, luckily places like Love's, or I guess Wawa. Actually, Wawa not as much, but
Buc-ee's, they have really nice bathrooms.
I love Buc-ee's.
Yeah, they're the shit. No pun intended. Yeah, I would take a dump at Buc-ee's. So I guess back before all these like posh gas stations existed, was kind of what I was thinking. Just those ones,
like the Shell gas stations.
Yeah, where there's like a hubcap attached to the key to open the bathroom. You know, those kind of places where people just like go to like just shoot up heroin and, you know, leave the needle. And anyway,
what, you don't?
Yeah, those are the places I don't really feel comfortable taking a dump at. I'm glad that there's like a 3 or 4 minute portion of this dedicated to taking a shit. That's great. I'll make that its own little chunk. So like, so it was any kind of specific mental health thing? Because for me, like, I have OCD, like, pretty bad. I have like just generalized anxiety. I've developed this weird, like, pesky phobia recently of like driving like on highways, and that's been a thing. So I guess agoraphobia to me, to a certain degree, like kind of fear of wide open spaces kind of thing.
Right.
So that's the kind of stuff that like I don't want to say suffer from, because that sounds a little dramatic. Those are my afflictions, I guess you could say. Was there anything specific for you?
It was it's just honestly, you just wore down, man. Like,
Yeah.
that's really the biggest thing. I mean, there are other like little like things as well. Like, I mean, we all have our own, like I said, our own ailments, our own afflictions that we do, our own demons. That's the word that we battle with every day.
Right.
But I mean, as far as specifics, I mean, mostly it's just being worn down.
What do you think keeps them from getting worn down?
Honestly, I'd say they probably are pretty worn down.
And they're just like holding on to the dream, I guess.
Exactly.
And for you, it was just like,
Yeah, it's like I love doing this, and eventually at the time it's like I'm going to keep doing this. It's just, just need a little break.
like, guys, do we have to tour like every other week for
Yeah.
like 2 and 3 and 4 weeks at a time? Like maybe let's take like half a year off and like just work on other stuff. Like that's if I was, I mean, not that they're asking me for my advice, but if I was to offer them any advice, it would be that, like, dude, generate more fucking content online. Like,
Right.
write more or put more time into like writing your songs. Like, don't worry about touring so much, and just find a happy balance there.
Social media is king, especially in these day and ages. You
Dude,
can't
the
really...
amount of people where I've heard the phrase, "Oh, they blew up on TikTok." You know what I mean? I mean, that's like kind of all you have to say right there is like, and I'm not saying that like bands should go in expecting to blow up on TikTok, because like that's like kind of like winning the lottery,
Right.
Like it's something that's difficult, and a lot of bands are trying to do. And I know there's this one band that we played it with in Tampa, and I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not gonna name the band because I'm about to like say bad shit about them. Not bad, but just my opinion, I guess. They were like this band from Gainesville, and they were okay. I thought their songs were kind of generic, and now there's 2 fucking flying ants. Anyway, I thought their songs were generic, and they had a small little fan base at the place we were playing. Like, they had like maybe 10 or 15 people that they brought, and I'm just like, whatever. I've played with tons of other bands that I thought were like just okay, just kind of lackluster, and it's like, well, whatever. Flash forward like maybe a year and a half, I'm dating this girl, and out of nowhere she's like, "Oh, hey, do you like," and then she says the name of the band, and I'm like, how the fuck do you know about that band? We played with them like a year and a half ago, and I just thought they were, just some local band that played some random at a city show or whatever. And she's like, "Oh no, they're huge on TikTok." And I'm like, "What?" I was like, show me their page." And she brought it up, and they had like one of their music videos on there had like millions of plays, and it had like gone viral. And it was like, you could tell the songwriting had totally changed. Like, it to me sounded like they hired a songwriter.
Right.
Because it was like, it sounded like very much geared towards pop radio. Like, it was very much like a pop song with like some guitars in there.
Oh, nice.
And like, they're like TikTok famous now. And now whenever they play shows, it's like they're not playing in these small venues anymore. I don't know what they're up to lately. I haven't looked them up, but I couldn't believe that. I was like, that's crazy. Like, I don't know. Sometimes with bands like that, I gotta wonder though if like if the industry had something to do with helping that happen.
Oh, 100%. And I obviously you don't know their financial situation, but like you said, they can hire writers and they can get any radio song or whatever song to get them famous on TikTok.
Dude, if you have enough money,
you own the industry.
You are a record label.
Yeah.
You can do everything a record label does if you have enough money. If you have $10 million, you are now a record label. You can hire a publicist. You can hire an like high quality agent, managers, your advertising can be off the charts with what you can do with that. I mean, so yeah, if you have the money, you can brute force your way in, and a lot of what they call industry plants have done that. There was this one in particular. There's a controversy about them like a year ago. I think they're called Tramp Stamp. It was like 3 chicks on TikTok, and they did like pop punk covers from like the early 2000s, like My Chemical Romance and shit. But they're all kind of hot, and they all had like the e-girl, like alternative girl look, and and they acted like they were either sisters or friends. I forget what the angle was, but everyone started kind of realizing that like their shit just seemed a little too curated to be like an off the cuff TikTok, Right. Like this seems a little too like produced. So then they started getting the accusation of being like industry plants, and then like people started like investigating it because I guess it became like a fascinating like topic for like would-be like sleuths on TikTok. And then it come to find out they were absolutely like industry plants. Like every single one of the individual girls had like a previous career with a totally different look, doing totally different music. And the Tramp Stamp thing was like this project where it's like, okay, let's try to jump on this wave of nostalgic emo and all that, and make this band,
Right.
And so they were kind of busted on that, and people that I think they like kind of broke up after they were found out. And it just makes me wonder like how many. I mean, I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but like I've noticed bands that I have played with that when I check their Spotify, like one day they have like 200 monthly listeners, and then I'll check back like a week or two later, and they have like 12,000 monthly listeners. And it's like, yeah, sure, those are all legit listeners. I know you can buy listens on Spotify. I know you can. There are bot farms out there that just hit play over and over and over again to give you those inflated numbers.
It looks cool, but you're not getting anything out of it.
No, and it's like, I don't know. To me, I feel like I can tell if the plays are legit or not, because I'll listen to the music, and if it sucks, it's like there's no way they have this many monthly listeners.
Right.
And then B, it's funny when this happens, like when their budget or their campaign runs out, their plays like plummet back to where they were. And so what happened to all those monthly listeners? Damn.
Guys, plateaued quick. Say there was a band, I'm not gonna name them either, but there was a band we played with and we opened for Royal Bliss and Saving Abel. And their singer was actually on The Voice, and I guess she did really well. And there was kind of the same kind of thing. They were thrown together, like the whole industry kind of. It's the same kind of thing of what you're talking about. So they had the massive following from that.
Yeah.
And so.
Was the band actually decent?
They sounded good. I mean, I'm guessing they were all like, I mean, they've all been in bands, I'm sure, before, but I mean, they were basically a cover band, not many originals.
We played with a band like that, who I will also not name. Even their name is the name of like a song, like a very known song, and it's like the name of the band. And the female lead singer dresses like a cheerleader, whatever, like a gothic cheerleader, has a whole like "look at me, I'm hot" thing going on, which kind of as a female singer, sadly, you kind of have to use that. You have to use whatever you got. Whatever you got, you have to use it. If there's a attractive woman in your band, you unfortunately, because when Steph joined the band, I wanted to not go that route. I wanted to not, not sexualize her in any way, because like I thought that was so like hacky and played out. But then, we'll post some TikTok that we put a lot of work into on our band's Facebook and Instagram. And it does maybe a little bit. Stephanie puts a picture of herself on Facebook or Instagram just looking attractive or whatever. It gets 10 times the amount of interaction. Yep. So it's like, you have to tailor to people's basic urges and go with Though it's sex sells, as they say. So
Yep.
I don't spite anybody who does. And there's some guys who do that too. Like I'm the hot guy, shirtless guy thing.
But it's nowhere near as prevalent.
Nowhere near as effective. Because
right.
You know, a lot of people who show up to those smaller shows are usually dudes who might bring their girlfriends or whatever, but it's predominantly male who go to these like shows from what I've seen. So, you know, hot chick singer, hey, it's like, you know,
maybe if I go, I'll get laid.
Yeah, or she'll talk to me and we'll become friends. I don't know what they think, honestly, but
yeah, exactly.
But this band I was talking about just now, they literally just did hard rock covers of like just tacky songs like early Britney Spears, early Christina, like Genie in a Bottle, Baby One More Time, just shit that's been done just over and over again. Oh, let's do a hard rock version of a pop song. It's like, yeah, that idea is as old as time. I swear to God. Like,
so a slightly less cringy version of Rex Viper.
Yeah. Oh God, Rex Viper. Man, I feel like I should just rename my channel like the Rex Viper
Experience.
Yeah, the Rex Viper. Oh man, start a cover band that covers Rex Viper. That would be. I think that's the way to go.
You gotta get the duck stomp in there though.
Oh God, man, I don't know. James is just tired. He's tired of doing that content. He
doesn't have enough time.
No, he doesn't have enough time to not have enough time. He's tired of playing the nerd character. He's burnt the fuck out. He wants to do his little dad rock band. Whatever. You can do all that, but you're a public figure and I can criticize it. If you're just in your garage, if James was in his garage with the guys in Rex Viper and they were just playing in their neighborhood and I happened to walk by and I was like, you guys fucking suck, that would be kind of fucked up because they're just trying to have fun in the privacy of their own home. But when you put your shit out there online for everyone to see, you're basically inviting criticism.
Especially when you're, you know, a public figure with over a million subscribers.
Yeah, exactly. You're a public figure, just like I am to some very much smaller degree than James, a public figure. And I do not care one iota when I get some troll talking shit, or even if they're not a troll, even if they're just legitimately criticizing something that I did. I don't care. Fine, good for you. There's 10 for every one person that says some shit about me, there's 10 other people who say they like it. So guess what? I don't care.
Yep. Yeah.
And I mean, it's like that with James now. Like for every one hater of you know, Rex Viper, the new direction that the nerd's gone in or whatever, there's 50 other people who love it. So you know, he probably doesn't concern him all that much.
No. It's worth keeping the screen wave people around.
Well, yeah, I guess they're in the back behind the scenes now, which that's where they should have been the whole time. Or at least introduce them. Be like, hey, what's up? James here. Just wanted to say that from now on, I'm gonna have some people helping me out, and you know, and he could have come up with like a creative way to introduce them, some kind of Nintendo nerd way. He could have written them into an episode. Like I don't know, Final Fight. Like say he's talking about Final Fight and he's beating people up and he's like, man, I wish those guys were here in real life so I could kick their ass in person, and then introduce Justin and Kieran and all them. And there's any number of ways he could have introduced them, but he just didn't. They were not there 1 minute and the next minute they're all over the page. It was just like too much, too fast, too soon, and they were not particularly charismatic. They were not particularly beguiling individuals. So yeah, I mean everyone pretty much felt the same way about the slobs. So
yeah, I figured we gotta mention that at least once. So.
It's fun. It's funny how much I don't get tired of talking about it. You would think I would get tired of talking about it by now, but no, I have no. Anytime anyone brings up Rex Viper, I'm like, yeah, they suck. It doesn't get old. It's the gift that keeps on giving. And apparently, I think this weekend they're doing their Too Many Games live set. I definitely will be doing a video on that.
I was gonna jokingly comment on one of your posts, be like, "Yeah, you guys are opening for them, right?"
Yeah. We've gotten comments like that. And it's anyone out there who like, oh, well, let's see your band. Please come out and see my band. I beg of you. I would love that. Come see me. Come see us play live. I guarantee you will have a much better experience at our show than. I mean, I don't know. There's so many like fanboys of James out there. They're the wool is so over their eyes. They're never gonna see that like Rex Viper is garbage. But whatever.
It used to be death threats. I don't know if it still is or not.
What Rex Viper got?
Oh, for criticizing James.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, for sure. Like before, like the Cinemassacre truth forums and all that, where everyone, it was kind of like, oh, I thought I was alone in having these complaints or these gripes about the nerd, and it's like, oh no, we've all noticed this, and it became like a safe space to like bash James and Cinemassacre in general. I don't wish any ill will towards James Rolfe. I just wish he would hang up the character, but he can't because that's his main monetary stream. He never really, as far as I know, I don't know the guys personally, obviously, but like he never really like diversified as far as like having a Patreon. He did the podcast, but only for a little while because it was so hugely unpopular with people.
Right.
He just has kind of like a couple of streams of income. Like a lot of guys get smart about it and they'll have a Patreon. They'll have a separate podcast that's not on YouTube. It's just its own thing. And they might post clips from it to YouTube, but then they get sponsorship deals for the podcast. And then you're making ad revenue from your nerd character. And, maybe, off like what's the fucking word I'm looking for? Not off camera, but like behind the scenes. That's the word I was looking for. Behind the scenes, you're like, say you're investing in land or something. I don't know. Like just diversifying, You gotta diversify, man. I don't know what that. I have no idea what that was or what it was supposed to be, but
Oh, good. Like what they did with the James and Mike Mondays. I mean, even something like that, like could have helped at least somewhat. Like throw it on Twitch and or YouTube streaming, get some extra revenue that way.
Yeah, I know. They could have done a lot of they could have made a lot better decisions. But I mean, so could have my band, or so could have I in general.
And anybody really at the end of the day, I guess.
Just when it comes to like media and trying to like break into it in any way, shape, or form, whether it be through music or through YouTube or whatever, like there's so many like right decisions to be made, but there's like way more wrong decisions that you could make. And it's, for some reason, certain people get it. Certain people get like the right decision path, and they climb the tree higher and faster because they're picking all the right moves and they're being smart. And then there's people like me that tend to pick the wrong decision every single fucking time. And then I learned from it, but here I am at 34 years old instead of 24 years old.
Right. Well, as they say, you live and you learn, basically.
Yeah. Do you believe in that whole
sucks.
age window to make it in music? Like as you get older, the window closes.
I think it more depends on what you're shooting for. Like if you're shooting for something like, I don't know, like something with like what the Alamos are trying to do. I think there is a cap, because obviously, like the real life, your body just wears down over time. Like there's no way you're gonna be able to keep it going nonstop. And I think with anybody that's relying on a sex sells mentality, obviously that's a factor as well.
Right.
Now I'm talking about emo music making a comeback in the 2023s and me having demos from when I was a teenager and utilizing them now.
I happened to have all these demos of when I was like 15 and 16, the age that music was hot and
Right.
new. I started writing guitar at that time as a teenager. I started writing like that because it just influenced me. I couldn't help it.
Right.
So I had all these demos from when I was 15 and 16 and 17, and I played them for her, and she's like, dude, this could totally work now. Like now that this music's back. And I obviously liked those demos, but I'm like, well, Dancing with Ghosts is kind of an alternative rock / electronic band, so I don't really see how this is going to fit in. And so I just kind of had them shelved for a long time. But when she heard them, she's like, oh, we need to use these. Like, and so I was like, okay. So
Sick.
Audacity was I've had that song, the structure of the song, not the vocals. Those she wrote those, but the song itself, I've had that entire ass structure for, since I was like 16, 17. So whatever the math is on that song has been around for years and years. Same with this one that's coming out. I've had that. That was a demo I wrote when I was like 17, and it just stayed a demo because.
Right,
Either no one wanted to work on it, or it was like, I don't know, it just was never turned into anything.
yeah, something shiny comes along. It's like, ooh, I want to play with that instead.
Yeah, exactly. Like, well, let's just write something new, or instead of like rehashing your old song, even though it could be a really great old song, and the thing that you write new could suck. If you're in a band, it's like, oh, well, I want to do that instead. All right, so is there any like interesting road or other band stories that you have that come to mind from all the touring that you did?
Oh man,
I'm sure that I know it's kind of a loaded question.
yeah. There was when you mentioned the awkward band or whatever, the TikTok band that you played with. There was a band that came to mind immediately. We played with at a Shovelhead Lounge in Orlando, I think.
It's in Longwood, Florida, but it's by Orlando. I've played there before. It's a good venue.
Oh God, I can't remember their name, but they were completely ridiculous. They sounded like a lot of their songs were like Metallica ripoffs, and it was during the Light Divided tour. It was the show after that we played together.
Okay.
And this was an example where the place was packed. Like it was great. But they had that hard rock metal edge, and they were just completely ridiculous on stage. Like they would say like, yeah, we got like glowing condoms at our merch table. Or the singer yelled in the mic, hold on to your foreskins. We're going balls deep.
Wow.
Completely ridiculous.
I don't mind shit like that. I think that's I think that it adds to the stage performance to a certain degree.
There's personality.
Yeah. But if you're ripping off like another band, like that's annoying. I mean, like, and I think when we say rip off, we mean like they're totally derivative. They're not actually like playing Enter Sandman and acting like it's their own song.
The riffs are very like they're incredibly similar.
Oh, okay. So literally ripping off. Oh, okay, yeah, that's Metallica is one of those bands that hell, I'm not gonna lie, on our new song there's like a break. We got this guy Ryan from Royal Hearts, this band called Royal Hearts. He's doing screaming vocals on our new song. And I came up with this guitar riff for the part where he really starts doing his scream thing. It's like after the rap part. And I'm not gonna lie, that riff sounds like a Metallica riff. Once after we tracked it in the studio and everything, I'm like, God damn, that sounds like Wherever I May Roam. But it's kind of like it's not the same. It's a completely different riff, but it sounds like it could live in that world.
Right. It's hard. It is difficult to be 100% original as well. Like,
oh, totally. I mean, that's why when bands come along that are like really original, that's why they always blow up usually, or they go nowhere. Right. They either fall into obscurity because they're too original, or they're just original enough to where it happens to fit the musical zeitgeist at the time, and they get like a record deal, like Primus, for example.
Right. Primus.
They're a completely original band. No one's ever going to be able to replicate them.
No.
Yet, they were alternative rock enough to where they were able to be played, you know, on the same radio station with, or be on the same festivals at the time with bands like, you know, Offspring and the Pumpkins and Alice in Chains. I mean, Primus went on tour with Alice in Chains back in the day.
That's true.
So they were completely original and unique, but still had enough of a sound to where they fit into that ecosystem.
Right.
And there was a band that we played with, and they were from like Maryland, so they came way far to play at, and I think it was Jackrabbits. Complete Rage Against the Machine ripoff.
Nice.
Like the guitar riffs, like Tom Morello, the way he comes up with guitar riffs is very specific to him, and he just laid the groundwork for that type of guitar playing, to where when anyone else plays like that, it's like you kind of can't play it off as though you're not like, you can't tell me that band or the guitar player from that band did not love Rage Against the Machine. Like,
oh, it's obvious.
That must have been his favorite band growing up. If he were to tell me, oh, I've never heard of them, bullshit. You know, not only have you heard of them, you are using their playbook to write your music.
Right.
And I see that a lot. And then with metal bands, God, have you guys, I'm sure you're one of those bands where you get booked with metal bands all the time, even though you guys, yeah, even though y'all aren't even metal and we're not metal, but I guess we're metal adjacent enough to where we can fit onto those bills, and it's not like a big disturbance in the audience. In fact, we usually make more fans at those metal shows because we're so different than just your typical screaming guy, drop F tuning, whatever the fuck. And we're like a breath of fresh air, because it's like all that shit gets so samey to me after a while. I'm surprised that new metal bands are still forming. Like, kids are still forming metal bands, because it's like, well, how do you even innovate at that point in that genre? Like, it's all been done, like, to death. It's crazy.
It's just cool to crabcore on stage, I guess. I don't know.
I get like the visceral power of like being at a metal show, having someone scream, and that heaviness in the drums, you know, the double kick and all that. I get like the energy that metal brings, but like on recordings, it's just like, man, heard this song a million times in a million different ways. Yeah, I don't know.
It's just a certain, like you said, a certain energy. Very, I guess you got to get that aggression out. But then again, that's a live show.
I've noticed that like metal shows and like hip hop shows both have that same energy, but expressed differently.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Because like, it's funny that you could have a genre of music that has like no like heaviness in the sense of guitar, but somehow makes up for it with like the rapping. Basically anything that's like loud and frenetic is going to get people into that energy.
Right.
That's why you never see that at indie shows, because the energy level of like most indie bands is like down here, just at like the lowest level. And I don't really fuck with that either, you know. I don't know. I just like seeing something that refreshing that I haven't seen before. That's what I like to see if I play with someone. And there's only been a couple of bands that I've played with that I'm like, wow, you guys are actually really good. Like, you're on to something, you know. Most of the other bands I see, it's like, oh, okay, there's
another AC/DC sound. There's another whatever.
Yeah, there's this band's favorite group must have been, you know, Brand New or fucking, I don't know. Like, you can tell they're all on that same wavelength or whatever.
Right. And to kind of answer your question with the whole playing with metal bands thing, the very first time we were in North or South Carolina, whatever it was, there we got put on two 2 days in a row we got put on metal shows with like 7 or 8 bands, and we were like the only band that was not metal. But like you said, that being the only one out, we did really well at that show.
Yeah.
But being a listener in the crowd, it's like, at least for me, because that's not my thing. It's like, why? Like,
Yeah. Well, I view it. I always call it like it's a changing of the channel. Like you're watching a TV program for like 2 hours, and then you change the channel, and it's something completely different. And it's like, oh, this is nice because I just got done watching like 2 hours of true crime murder mysteries, and now I'm watching a show about making cupcakes, and it's just a nice change of pace for my brain. And we're like a bunch of cupcakes apparently.
and you're buying jammy Dodgers.
Oh God, man, you really have watched my channel.
Mm-hmm.
Those things are pretty good.
Videos.
Those are pretty tasty. They still sell them at my Publix grocery store. I don't know if you guys have. I don't think you have Publix in Wyoming.
No. Not quite Wyoming, but you're not too far.
Not
You're
Wyoming.
Not terribly off.
Wisconsin.
There you go. There you go.
All right, man. Well, thanks for talking to me. I gotta actually
Yeah.
get ready to go to work, unfortunately, and host some shitty fucking karaoke. But I guess I think I've asked you all the questions, all my burning questions, mainly like why the fuck did y'all tour so much? And apparently y'all just really liked it and had jobs where you were able to leave and come back. But yeah, so
Yeah.
cool.
I was just say thank you for having me. It was awesome. It was a great time.
Absolutely. I do not look forward to editing this, but
Probably like 2 hours.
yeah, it's 2 hours. But aside from that, I think it went well. So we'll keep in touch, obviously, and until next time, man. If you find yourself in Jacksonville, hit me up.
Until I book your next tour, right?
Oh, that would be great. All right, man. Well, have a good night. We'll talk to you later.
Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.